the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Pauly Howard. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Strong 3-hour program lined up today. On the show, we have Will Hill, VSiN contributor. Very good on all sports. We'll get his take on tonight's college basketball schedule and conference tournaments as well. Seth Greenberg from ESPN on the program today. Mike Palman studio and Matt Humans with his best bets. Good action last night, Pauly. Your team, the team that you have adopted here, BYU, with that kind of like nothing happened in the first 5 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're sitting on the under, you're thinking to yourself, well, this is exactly what I was hoping for, right? And then the game goes to overtimes, and it flies over the total, and they almost gave the game away. But for a majority of that game, they went to Ames, Iowa, and they controlled the Cyclones, won by 3. That got up to 10 yesterday, closed at 8.5. Bart Torvik has projected seed lines for every team in the country. He has them now 5.8.
Yeah, they got to move up big after what they did. And not to mention they get the double bye now in the Big 12 tournament. Up 21. And I can't wait to talk to Seth Greenberg. Why are we seeing teams blow these big leads? And what's going on down the stretch with the bad possessions when the game's on the line? But to be up 21, and certainly Iowa State, do they deserve it too? Not playing like it either. Oh, that's another one. So, I'm watching. I'm like, how are you down 21 at home in a game you have to have, and you're claiming to be a 2 seed? But BYU continues to roll up 21, blow it, but come vicious beat on the total as well. It was an incredible night. And Nebraska up 5 in overtime. They blow it. Texas tried to give that game away.
Yes, they did.
So many times. Indiana has the lead with a minute and change left, and they're getting 6, 7, and they can't cover? Mm-hmm. How about that one? And it doesn't go to overtime in regulation. And then West Virginia, the game they had to have, wins by 2. So there's so much going on here with the seeding and the bubble teams and what happened with all the overtimes. It was a fantastic night. But you started it, and you are correct that BYU is going to give a lot of teams fits, and they definitely need to be on that 5-6 line in that discussion.
I wish that we could bet on this, like starting in January every single year. Like, where will this team, and put an over-under on it, right? Where is this team going to be come tournament time? And we've been talking about this now for, 3 weeks. Like, really? BYU is going to be on the 8-9 line? That seems very low. When if you really look at what they've done recently, and if this continues to happen, they could be like a 4 seed.
Yeah.
And now, like, if you would have put up an 8.5, for example, in January, or a 7.5, it would have been like telling people, please bet the under on that.
Well, it's also 2 seasons. It's non-conference and the conference schedule. So the non-conference is a long time ago, and you can improve. And if you have a good coach like Young coming from the NBA, and Saunders and the good players they have there, you just see the great looks they get and how we can draw it up. I want to know, and when I evaluate you, I want to know how you're playing right now and in the last 2 months to a month. And no one's hotter than BYU.
Yeah. To your point about how these teams are blowing big leads, it's almost like, and if you watch like multiple games every single night, you see these teams with leads almost going to what a prevent offense would look like in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it happened last night, too, in the Arkansas game. They got the lead big in Vandy, and that was a game that I had my eye on because I had Arkansas in the game. Their possessions with the lead, they were terrible, and they were running nothing, but yet they're just putting up, like DJ Wagner putting up 28-foot threes, and they're going in at the shot clock when it's going to expire. Like, wait a second, huh? So that was kind of the exact opposite of what happened in South Carolina. I'd say that team is somewhere between their last 2 performances. They're not nearly as bad as they were against South Carolina. And I don't think like the shot making is as good as it was last night. But that's a team, if you're just getting into college basketball right now with March upon us, North Carolina, too, finally putting it together. Again, when you look at Bart Torvik's side, he has Arkansas currently projected to get a 10 seed and 79.2% to get into the tournament.
Wow.
You can still find 70-1 on them to make the Final Four at FanDuel. And North Carolina, their average seed line is 10.6. And almost a 60% chance to get into the tournament. You can find North Carolina at 141. I'm sorry, at 140-1 to make the Final Four at FanDuel. Now,
Should we take Clemson and Louisville tonight, too, based on what you've been talking about, that Duke and North Carolina need style points and they're covering and blowing people out?
Maybe. But this run now, again, no opinion here. Torvik's site, since early to mid-February, has North Carolina a top 5 team in the country. This happened a few years ago. They had a miserable regular season. Hubert Davis kind of figured it out in the tournament then. Remember, they had Baylor down. Baylor, they were the defending champs, and they were a 1 seed. And Carolina had them down by 25 points in that game. And they made the Final Four that year. They beat Duke, and they had Kansas down by, 15 at halftime of the title game? So I'm not telling you this year's team is going to go on that kind of a run, but he's done it before.
It's hard to get away from the 1-10 record, though, against Quad 1 teams, which that's deplorable. That's awful. And
that's also before he messed with the starting lineup and
but you're kicking ass and taking names, but you're beating up on the bad teams in the ACC though, so that's a conundrum for the committee. But I can't get away from the 1-10. But the ACC tournament's going to be huge for them.
So is this weekend?
That's also a good point, right? That they play Duke. You're right. So there's a lot on the line here, especially with this Alabama-Florida game. Like if you look at the pecking order, they are saying Tennessee's your last 1 seed. Well, if they lose and then you get Alabama-Florida winner who's right behind them, they move up. And if Tennessee takes a loss and then something happens in the SEC title game, especially early on, then I think the 1 seed can flip there and they're not out of this because these games are so important here.
I would say if Florida wins this game tonight, they have to be, I'm not going to call them a lock, but they got to be pretty close to getting very secure on the 1 line. Florida's resume is outstanding and some of their performances are incredible. Again, I brought this up several times. How many teams in the country could go to Auburn and do what they did in that game? They were easily the better team in that game. Not a lot. So, I've gone back and forth on this game tonight specifically so many times, and I can't get myself to make a bet because here's how I feel what's going to happen in the game. You can probably get a better number on maybe both teams throughout the course of this game. It has a total of 179. You kind of know that both teams are going to hit the other one with some pretty decent runs at one point, and the shots could be falling. The tempo is going to be insane. So rather than saying I like Florida plus 3.5, you might be able to grab Florida, I don't know, plus 8.5 around the 12-minute mark of the first half. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't mind Alabama first half. Coming off the tough loss in a game they blew to Tennessee, and Florida's had their first half issues. Hoops Peterson makes Florida the favorite, and a total of 170. In this game. So a big difference on the total. But definitely a lot on the line and interesting thoughts about the in-play as well.
Right as of right now, who would you give that 4th 1 seed to? It'd be the second team out of the SEC. Would you go Tennessee? Would you go Florida?
I guess I'd have to go Tennessee because they split and then they just beat Alabama as well. It's tough, though, because they were swept by Kentucky, but they've won 7 of 8. So I have to go Tennessee, but they got to beat Ole Miss tonight. And then they got to see what happens with the winner of this game and how they do this. I mean, if Alabama can win this game and then they beat Auburn.
Well, then there you go.
There it is.
Then they're going to leapfrog both these teams, and they should be the 4th one, at least going into the SEC tournament then. Maryland plays at Michigan. Michigan about 2.5 tonight. High total 154.
Hoops makes Maryland the favorite in this.
He's not the only one. So does Tyler Shoemaker. And the other projection sites like Ken Pom and Torvik, they have it a 1-point game. And money coming in on Maryland now down to 2 here at Circa. Maryland's really, really good.
Joe Lenardi said Final Four good on with Van Pelt and Stanford Steve the other day.
Yeah.
Another early start, by the way. It's 6 o'clock Pacific. That's an early tip time.
I don't think he's the only one who feels that way about this team. Marquette plays at UConn. UConn, they were up to 4 earlier today. Again, looking at all these projection sites, they're not favored by 4. The market completely disagrees with the Ken Poms of the world, the Bart Torvik, Tyler Shoemaker. Every single projection has UConn winning by 1 or 2 points. That's it.
This is your unranked team favored against ranked team angle, too, which everyone loves. And still, it seems like it's been months that UConn's been stuck on the 8-9 line. There's not much, and since the conference play, they haven't had that huge win either. So do they really deserve to be on that 8-9 line? But a win here is going to help them big time as well. And is there someone out for Butler? Because Xavier, in a huge bubble game, opened 1.5. They're up to 4. That's what St. John's was laying at Butler, right? It was 5.
Yeah.
Then it came down once they tipped off.
That's right. Yeah.
Didn't go 5. So a lot of respect here for Xavier. 19 and 10 and 11, 7 in league play, and it got up to 4, and now some 3.5s in a huge bubblicious game against Butler.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other two games that I think are, I'm not going to say like the teams have to have them like blood, but Tennessee plays at Ole Miss. Ole Miss could go for a nice win. Yeah. And they are unranked now. Tennessee's a 2.5-point favorite here, and the other one would be Oklahoma.
Well, they got to have it. If they lose this, they're 4-13 in conference.
You have to shovel dirt on their grave if they lose this game tonight.
Yeah.
And Missouri is a 4.5-point favorite here. High total, 161.5, but that's the norm now, I think, with almost all these SEC teams not named Tennessee.
Yep. Opening day, March 17th, Tokyo, Dodgers, Cubs. Every team preview, stat glossary, general baseball betting tips. Jensen Lewis on handicapping pitchers. Futures market, Cy Young, MVP. Avoid strikeouts at the book. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today as low as $9.99. Get your copy of the guide and the March Madness guide and everything we do, every pick, every host, every guest. Sign up now, VSiN.com/subscribe. $9.99, VSiN.com/subscribe.
Nice win by A&M last night, taking down the number one team in the country. I knew my moneyline parlay that I had on Auburn and San Diego State last night was dead 3 minutes into the game. I absolutely hated the body language for the Tigers.
Paul Stone nailed that one. He's right.
Yes, he did.
Second time all year they've been down at halftime?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they trailed the entire time.
Yep.
And they were so sloppy. They looked to me like they could show up on the court with their D-plus game and walk away with a win. And I know Jones was out of the game last night, but that stung. We will dive into conference tournaments up next. Most of the regular season was really strong to the overs in this conference, but it has been the exact opposite come conference tournament time. Find out which conference next here on VSiN. So, Pauly, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
On the next Money Moves, Grace Remington joins me, Stormy Bonantoni, where we're diving into everything under the sun sports betting. VSiN hockey betting analyst Jonathan Davis is going to join us to break down a loaded NHL slate. Then our buddy Munaf Manji is stopping by to help us preview the NBA betting board and give us some of his favorite MLB futures. We'll dive into it all and the latest news from across the sports world starting at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, right here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So more conference tournaments begin today. Great analysis, picks, predictions, betting advice up at vsin.com from Zach Cohen, Adam Burke, Jonathan Von Tobel, trends from Steve Makinen as well. I think you were on vacation when I talked about this with JVT. The Summit League is a conference that produces a lot of high-scoring games, right? Mm-hmm. And teams in this conference, they've actually done damage in the tournament before. Hello, Oral Roberts beating Ohio State 15-2 a couple years back. So I said on the air, I'm going to find a way to watch every one of their games. Next season, you can subscribe to like Summit Television, get like 630 events for $80. It's track and field, baseball, basketball, the whole thing. Yeah. Because like this is the exact opposite of some of these other tournaments that you're going to find like in the Northeast where games are 51-47, and it's, you know, it's a sloth-like pace. It's very, very slow. The offenses kind of stink. Good defensive, but that's about it. This is the exact opposite. So on the season, South Dakota 20-8 to the over. North Dakota State both 18-10. St. Thomas 17-10-1 to the over. You know, later on today we're going to do best and worst ATS teams and teams to totals in college basketball and the NBA. For most of the year, the Summit League had like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 teams at or near the top of going over their games. However, it has flipped come conference tournament time. All 8 games last year of their tournament went under the total. Historically, the most extreme totals in the Summit League have also trended under. Totals at 153.5 or more are 13-4 under since 2016. And totals at 130 or less are 9-2 under since 2014. For what it's worth, favorites in the Summit League, strong run last 5 years, 31-7 straight up, and 58% ATS. Missouri KC is lane 6 against Oral Roberts tonight. Total is 135.5. Missouri KC is a team that I want nothing to do with going over on their total.
Yeah, okay. Winner gets the 1 seed Omaha. There was a cool celebration after they won the league. The chancellor came out of a garbage can and was hiding and had the championship belt. So, again, how often do you see the 1 seed? That's the 4th choice to win it. And it's a St. Thomas angle as well, that they can win the tournament but can't go to the big dance with the transition. Everything you said is true about the history, and it's been a good league. And even the Jackrabbits, South Dakota State teams were good, but Lenardi says he has Omaha a 16 seed. So doesn't look like they're going to get a good seed, whoever wins this on Sunday night. But it has been high scoring, but we'll see if the under trend continues.
I know people are making the case to bet St. Thomas to win it at plus 260 in that range. Yep. And here's the thing, though, right? They can win it. You can win that bet. Mm-hmm. But as you were saying, like if they do, they're not in the tournament. So.
Yep. Also a good write-up from Adam Burke today about the Northeast and Central Connecticut State in action today, the 1 seed. They have won 12 in a row. They went 14-2 in conference. They are a 15 seed if they get in, according to Lenardi. But Lemoyne actually had some good performances and played out of their minds offensively. Yeah. So he took the 13.5 here in this game in the quarterfinals. Played on, they do it the right way. You get the home games.
Right.
So, but that's interesting where it's all about matchups and styles and whatever that, yes, they're huge favorites, but that Lemoyne's given them some fits and some issues in the other meetings.
I also have a bet on that game, so I'll tease this right now. When we do that again, coming up a little bit later on, I'll give one away. Lemoyne is the number 1 team in the country going over the total. They're 23-7 on the year. So January 24th, when these two teams played, the total was 136.5. The final score was 93-70. 163 total points combined in that game. Went over by almost 30 points. They played again not that long ago, back end of February on the 27th. Total was 144.5. 84-75 was the final score in that matchup. So that went over by a good 15 points. Ooh. I bet over 143.5 in this game. Lemoyne, they have the most efficient offense in this conference. And in the one game that they played, now this is probably not going to happen again, but Central Connecticut State had 1.388 points per possession. If that happens again tonight, then we will have an easy winner to the over. But I played it over 143.5 based on their recent games and Lemoyne being so good to that over on the year.
Sure. Sounds good. The 2 seed is Long Island. And they are lane 13
Yeah, around that number to Chicago State.
Hoops makes them 18.5. That's your 2-7 matchup.
Yeah,
There's a big difference there.
So you read his write-up, as did I. I don't know how readily available this is, but it almost made it seem like we should bet Chicago State the team total under in the game. Like they're going to have a very difficult time scoring here against a super solid defense by Long Island.
Could be the case.
Could also give you this. Couple of trends here from Makinen. Favorites of 4.5 points or fewer are only 6-14 ATS last 20 conference tournament games in the Northeast. And 15 of the last 20 quarterfinal games in this tournament stayed under the total. That's 75%, and that includes all 4 games from a year ago. Again, we're talking Northeast Conference tournament there. In the Ohio Valley, we have 2 games tonight. Tennessee Tech is the 5. They're playing the 8 Tennessee Martin. Last check, Martin was actually a small favorite in the game. And the 6 seed Lindenwood plays number 7 Morehead State. And Morehead State was favored by about 1.5 points. Totals in the, we don't have one of these tonight, but keep this in mind.
This is great.
Totals in the 150s in the Ohio Valley tournament are 10-2 under last 12 games. And overall, 11 of the last 16 semifinal games in this tournament have also stayed under. That is 69% you're talking about. Very good. He's also got, and again, we'll remind you, did you see the schedule for Thursday? That's tomorrow. It's absolutely bonkers how many games we're going to have tomorrow. Like some of these conference tournaments are taking today off, and then we're going to get a lot of quarterfinals and or semifinals like tomorrow. Yeah, well, Tuesday's nuts too, because everyone is invited, and how crazy this is with how big these tournaments are. The other thing too, the Saturday night's a title game. The first bid goes out. The Dogs are on a 12-2 run ATS in the title games, and that is the 1 and 2 seeds get buys into the semis, which will be Friday night. Your 1 seed and favorite is Southeast Missouri State. Lenardi has them a 16 seed, so something to watch and monitor. That the Dogs have crushed it in the title games, although it didn't work out last year. But 12-2 run, the game will be Saturday night. I got to tell you, it feels pretty good here, digging around in the trash. Yes, with our buddies like Bruce Marshall and Richie Baccelleri, and coming out with at least one bet on these games tonight. And it's the biggest moment of their professional careers. Most of them, right? That you're on TV and you're playing for a spot in the big dance. Yeah. And, Saturday you're going against Duke Carolina, I think, or after it. So maybe not. But Sunday's going to be great with the Valley and then the Summit League, Big South and Atlantic Sun. And then Monday and Tuesday, they have pretty much the stage to themselves at night with all the marquee games. That's right. That's right. So it's really heating up now. What a month it is. It'll fly by. We'll get to the Final Four, or at least like the second weekend of the tournament. You're like, it's almost over with already? How the hell did that happen? And someone will come out of nowhere. You've never heard of them. You don't know where they're located. You don't know the mascot. The enrollment will be tiny, and they'll go to the dance or win a game. Oh, yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah. And by the way, that might happen Thursday by noon Pacific time. Yeah. It seems like we get one of those every single year. I asked you the question yesterday, like, give me your best Final Four. You said, like, 3 powerhouses and then, like, one little guy. And I thought about it last night. All of this talk about expanding the tournament but giving no hope to having more, like, mid-majors really, really pisses me off. Because, again, this is what the conference tournament has been built on, right? They have been the pillars of this event for the last 3+ decades. Well, this isn't college football, though. There's over 300 basketball programs. That's exactly right. So, I mean, you got to give them a chance. As I was thinking last night, you know what? Give us, like, 3 mid-majors in this year. Let's have total chaos. And then I want to hear the people on TV again say, no, we can't have more mid-majors. This sucks. Can't have it. They don't deserve it. Or we want to eliminate them, and we want to put teams that are, 4-14 in their conference throughout the regular season in the tournament, because that makes more sense. More money for it's so dumb. Yeah. Yeah, give me a starting point of like UC San Diego, St. Mary's, and VCU. Bam. I wouldn't even complain. I think it'd be awesome. Well, history's on our side anyways, because it happens on a regular basis. So I know it's just a bizarre season, but that's troubling moving forward, and I'm glad Barkley said that. Right. That was incredible that he's on the Auburn game a week ago, and we got to do a better job to make sure the smaller schools can compete. Juice Reel, bringing real transparency to the picks marketplace. No fake records, no hiding bets. Everyone syncs their accounts, importing their history directly from the books. Ranks every bettor based on their actual record. Sharp bettors even get paid when you follow their picks. Tail proven. Verified winners on Juice Reel. Free in the App Store. REEL. Get it now, Juice Reel. Download Juice Reel today. Dick Vitale screamed about that for, I don't know, 25 years, 30 years on ESPN? Maybe more?
It's his best line. Don't reward mediocrity.
Right, yeah.
You had your chance for 4 months.
And you have to reward the little guy, and you got to give him a chance. You have to. And it's sad when you look at, like, the first 4 out, the last 4 in, whatever, the next 4 who are going to be out. Yeah, man, it's tough to come up with a team that they're actually making the case for in a non-power league. VSiN contributor Will Hill on the show coming up next. We'll get his best bets for tonight, loaded card, and conference tournament futures as well here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We'll knock out some best bets here. College basketball tonight and some futures with conference tournaments as VSiN contributor Will Hill joins the program now. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. You can download, listen to his podcast, the Should Have Bet More podcast, and also the Bear Bets podcast as well. Will, good to talk to you as always. How are you, my friend?
Boys, what's going on? This is about as good a time of year as you can have, and I think today is pretty much the last day, the last afternoon without day hoops for a long time. Tomorrow it starts with the Missouri Valley. A couple of these other tournaments get under the way with day games, and it's just it's the best. It's wall-to-wall action. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, basically the next 3.5 weeks are, come on, it's heaven, right?
People talk about going to Vegas for the first week of the NCAA tournament, and it's great. That first weekend, that first 4 days, that conference tournament week, being there for that conference tournament week is underrated because there's just the volume of games, and there's just they start in the morning. They go till those West Coast games till 2 a.m. East Coast. It's just wall-to-wall action. So for the sheer volume, if you can't make it for that first 4 days of March Madness, I think the conference tournament week is really underrated week, and I think it's cheaper a lot of places. So that is 1 week if you want to get out there. It's a great week to go.
Well, how long have we been saying that?
Yep.
We're telling folks, right?
You're right, my friend. You're right with all the volume, and that especially that Thursday, Friday, and next week is chaos as well, and all the conference tournaments down the street. You are alive with a 50-1 shot. Do you still recommend a play on Queens in the semis here? They play tomorrow night to win the Atlantic Sun.
Yeah, we got the semis tomorrow. Then I think Sunday would be the final, which is a little different than what I remember this tournament format being, where I remember it being straight through like a Saturday, then you play a title game on a Monday. So this is really dragged out. And I don't know that it's good for the underdog, but I still like Queens. I gave them out on Sunday. I think it was 50-1, 45-1 in that range. It's still at 22-1. All you need is 2 wins now. You could say money line rollover. I don't really know what pays better. I haven't seen a Lipscomb Queens line, but they won in Lipscomb earlier in the season. They beat North Alabama. They've beaten these teams at the top of the conference, and they play really good defense. They protect the rim well, and they shoot a ton of threes. Lipscomb shoots a ton of threes. Now, Queens doesn't shoot the three well, but when you're talking 22-1 still to win 2 games, there's variance there with both teams that shoot a ton of threes. You're talking 27 threes per game. If Queens has a night where they shoot, they make a bunch of them hit 50%, and Lipscomb goes cold, Queens could be moving on. And at 22-1, all you need is 2 games to cash. If you hit the first one, we'll see what the line would be in the title game. I just think, Lipscomb, they're favored. They're rightfully favored, but this is it's Lipscomb. It's not the 98 Bulls. I think Queens can be right in there and move on here.
They're close, though, right? When you look at the Lipscomb resume, they 96 Bulls, and not maybe right away, but after a minute or two, when you look at it, they're right there. Okay, so then Big Ten, you also forget about the teams at the top. You want to go kind of a long shot here as well.
Which one is this?
The Big Ten. You want to go Illinois?
Oh, no. Missouri Valley, Illinois State. We're going.
Oh, I read it the wrong way. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see the state in there.
All right. So, look, I'm looking to fade Drake. I thought about Bradley. I've heard and read some people that I really respect make a case for Northern Iowa in like the plus 475 range. I just think basically like Drake at 5-0 in overtime games. Every game is close. Every game is low scoring. It's a little like the Chiefs were this year, where just kind of due to get burnt, due to lose a close game. Be interesting to see if they get in, regardless of whether they win this tournament or not. I'm just looking to fade the top. And again, I thought about Bradley. I thought about Northern Iowa. But to me, Illinois State, with their offense, they can play with anybody. That's another situation where if you get to a semifinal, you get to a final at 15, 16-1, you give yourself some wiggle room. So I will go with the longer shot here just because I'm getting the longer number. Now, top 4 get a bye. Illinois State's 5. They don't get a bye. But as long as they win and move on, I think they're going to be live here to make a run. So give me Illinois State here at call it 15-1.
All right, not bad. I was definitely concerned with how they played down the stretch. The Missouri State game was terrible. You had to go to overtime there, so you're fading Drake. And also Bradley just took out Northern Iowa than their last game as well. The Colgate's won the Patriot 4 years in a row. Bucknell, I'm seeing as high as minus 120 to win it. How about Colgate 4-1?
Yeah, I like the number here. I think they'll beat Army Thursday night in the quarters. And then who knows? I think there's some pedigree. Now, they have not played well to end the season. But, sometimes you get in these conference tournaments in a fresh start. They have the pedigree. Like you said, they've won this tournament in the past. And if they do advance, they're likely getting American. Now, who knows? Maybe you get some upsets around you and you're in really good shape. But American beat them twice, but both games were close. I don't think American is head and shoulders above them. And another situation where at 4-1, I like them in the quarters. Who knows in the semis? And if you get to a final, we'll see what happens. I don't think Bucknell is invincible either. Who knows if that, you see madness all the time in these conference tournaments. You see a lot of upsets. There's a lot of pressure on these higher seeds to duplicate what they did in the regular season. So I will go with Colgate here at 4-1. It's not obviously the dominant team that we've seen in the past years, and they've gotten in the tournament. They haven't won any games, but I remember they played close against Wisconsin. There was one year where they were up big against Arkansas, and they just kind of ran out of gas.
Right.
They've been feisty in these tournaments. Again, not the same team, but I will take them here. I think they got a run in them.
All right, let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, VSiN contributor Will Hill. His podcast is called the Shoulda Bet More podcast. And also he is with Chris Felica and the boys over at the Bear Bets podcast as well. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. Tonight's action, SEC. We touched on this game briefly. First segment, Tennessee laying points on the road against Ole Miss. Ole Miss, go back a month and a half, you're like, oh, Chris Beard's really got it going. Since, really a lot of struggles, a lot of losses anyway. They could go for a nice win tonight against a really, fantastic basketball team. Who do you like here?
I like Ole Miss. I think Tennessee, you're fading them. First of all, I don't like that offense. I really don't like that offense on the road. And they're off of the big win against Bama. What Bama did the last 30, 40 seconds is just a clinic on how to not close a basketball game. What a disaster that was on Saturday afternoon. But I just don't trust this Tennessee team on the road. And it's a good spot for Ole Miss. It kind of reminds me of A&M last night, where one team kind of wants it more, kind of needs it more. You're getting points. You're at home. I just think this is a spot where Ole Miss, Beard is an intense guy. He's a good coach. And you can kind of forgive these losing streaks in the SEC because you get in these runs where you just play 4 or 5 games in a row, and it's just monster team after monster team. You could lose a little confidence. And look, somebody's got to lose in these games. So I don't hold it too much against Ole Miss. These losses, I still wouldn't be surprised if they made a run to Sweet 16, Elite 8. I still think this is a talented basketball team. I will take the 3.5 here tonight. I think they win.
6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. How about Maryland 2.5 at Michigan?
Yeah, not a believer in this Michigan team. I like the 2 big guys, and Wolf is fun to watch. The Yale transfer. I just think this Michigan team. I keep going back to the stat. I think it's January 12th was the last time they beat anybody by more than 4 points. It's been close win after close win. Kind of regression hit on Sunday when Illinois absolutely blew their doors off. And I like this Maryland team. They've got some size. They've got some shooting. They don't have a ton of depth, but to me, Michigan, they don't shoot free throws well. They don't defend well. There's just some things. They turn it over. I think that their record is overrating them a little bit. Now, you always worry in the Big Ten. Sometimes these home teams can get the whistle. You get some home cooking with the Big Ten, so you always have to keep that in mind, especially with these shorter numbers. But I think Maryland is the better team. I'm looking to fade Michigan, so I will take the Terps here plus the 2.5.
All right. Very good, Will. By the way, I did find a number tomorrow on Queens taking on Lipscomb.
7?
What do we got?
10.5.
Oh,
that's a lot of points.
10.5.
And they
disrespect
beat them
for the Royals. Come on.
Yeah, I know. So
wow, who has that, by the way?
That's at FanDuel.
Okay. What do we got for a money? So that's got to be like a 4-1 money line, something like that.
Lipscomb minus 530, Queens plus 390 on the take back.
Wow. I'm surprised it's that high. I think that's a touch high.
10.5 seems like it's a bit much, right?
Yeah.
And I did look at Circa, by the way. They have Queens at 24-1. I know Circa's not in every state, but if you think 22-1 might be worth a shot, then 24, whatever. It's pretty similar anyway. 24 is better, but 22-1 probably still worth a shot at that point. If you think they're live against, if you think they're live against Lipscomb, then absolutely you got to take the points and then take a little bit of that number as well, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of what the money line rollover would be. I think even the 24-1 is probably going to beat what you're going to get on a money line rollover, because if they beat Lipscomb, you're probably going to get a bump and you're going to get a shorter number whoever they play in the title game.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Yeah.
All
right, you can follow Will on X. He's at Not the Will Hill again, and this podcast are the Bear Bets podcast and Shoulda Bet More as well. Will, thank you as always for the time. Best of luck tonight.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Back at you. And Will join us here on the Progressive Guest Line.
Sorry about that. DraftKings has plus 550 on Colgate.
Plus 550?
Yeah. You can do better than that if you want them to win the Patriot League. All right. How about this now? Memphis, 15-2 in league. VCU, 15-2 in league. Houston and Duke, 18-1. Louisville and Clemson, both in action tonight, 16-2. St. John, 17-2. Central Connecticut State, 14-2. Towson, 16-2. Yale, 12-1. Akron, 16-1. McNeese State, $5 to win their conference tournament, 19-1. St. Mary's, 17-1. Utah Valley in the WAC, 13-1. A lot of teams just ripped right through this conference slate.
That's a good point. Yeah. how many of those teams are going to go down in their conference tournament. I know you named multiple teams from the same conference, but you don't see a team around $5 very often to win their conference tournament.
I can't recall.
But that is...
Even Gonzaga in the heyday, I don't think, because still you had to respect St. Mary's and the other programs. But
well, I think Central Connecticut State's like $270.
Yeah.
But even that's...
You made a good point, maybe Colgate, because they had it on their home floor over those years. But $5. Biggest betting month of the year, finally here. Championship week tipping off. NBA, NHL playoff races around the corner. Good golf tournaments. Players Championship next week. Opening day. Get in now, $9.99. VSiN.com/subscribe, $9.99. Get in now.
Win-lose up next, and we have yet another big card in the NBA tonight. I think a huge dog might be barking.
Don't start betting the baseball season without it. VSiN's Baseball Betting Guide, exclusive to VSiN Pro subscribers. Inside, you'll get everything from tips on how to bet baseball to expert analysis on awards races, futures markets, and a full stats glossary that will help you sharpen your edge. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up to become a pro subscriber to get this exclusive betting guide, as well as access to everything you need to become part of the Sports Betting Network. last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Insane night of action. Double overtime games all over the joint and some vicious beats. Raptors plus 250. Hit a 3 at the buzzer to beat the Magic. Warriors plus 4.5 down to pick. Took out the Knicks on the road, no problem. Curry's 12-1 at the Garden?
Well,
I did not know that. Excellent. Yep. New Mexico plus 1.5 to minus 1.5. Beat Nevada. BYU money line. 7 in a row. 4-1. Won at Iowa State. Arkansas plus 290. Texas plus 250. New Jersey Tech 4-1. Anaheim Ducks 3-1. I believe that was a Malinsky special for the Oilers, who have lost 6 of 7.
Oh, they got smoked last night.
They did. They were blown out. Subscribe, be part of the team. VSiN.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos at Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. Send them in. We'll put them on and put you on.
Oh, this one's so good.
Viewer sent this in on X. This is the Huskies with the bunk beds, and they've got the little sweater on with their outfits as they get tucked in. And then, there you go. All right. You got your attire on? You getting ready to go to bed? Guy's like, okay, give me the sweater. I'm good. All right. And then up he goes to the top, and the other guy goes on the bottom. And then they are with the Huskies with the bunk beds, and it's time for bed. Got the steps coming up there. Okay, they're so smart. Love Huskies.
He knows what to do.
He does. Yeah, the routine, right? All right. Now, the other guy doesn't get a sweater? Is this?
No, there's another one back in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. That's awesome. They put the wardrobe on, and then
we have
it's
2
time
dogs.
for bed.
It almost makes me want to get bunk beds for them.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Beautiful.
My only problem is the likelihood of both of them using it every single night. It's less than 50%.
Yeah. Yeah. What a setup. Treats, pets. They got the toys as well. Excellent. How about the bulldog who loves his skateboard and he wants to sleep with it? Look at the big fella.
Oh, that is a hole.
He's got the front porch on this guy.
Forget linebacker. He's nose tap. Oh,
here we go.
Look at him.
Here we go. Look at him on a skateboard. Look at the guy, right? He's coming with the right leg. He's trying to scoot. He's laying on it. The big fella getting a workout with the knife and fork. And here he is. He's not moving fast, but he's still moving. Look at him with the right leg. He wants to sleep with it. He loves his skateboard. On it all the time.
He doesn't know whether to sleep on it or eat it.
Yeah, that's right. Look at him. Get that. Oh, man. How's he that big, though? Big guy. What are you feeding him? Oh, man, that's excellent. That's awesome. One lose some. Lakers, Pelicans under. No shot. 234 down to 229. LeBron and Luka went off. Luka was dancing, hitting threes early on. Zion had a big game, throwing down dunks. That game had it all. It was nuts.
Luka, do you have this coming up? I apologize if you do. Luka already has.
No, with a
30-15 game.
Yeah, fourth Laker ever.
Fourth Laker ever.
Can you believe that?
Took him a week.
Luka, LeBron, West, and Magic in the history of the franchise. Oh, the vicious beats. Texas missed state under. Goes over in overtime. A moose in Oregon. Indiana plus 7. They led by 1 with 2 minutes left and lost and couldn't cover in regulation. How does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
An all-time meltdown by Indiana, who didn't score the rest of the game, and Oregon made their free throws and made all the shots, and you couldn't get the money with Indiana even though they had the lead. BYU, Iowa State under. Goes over because of double overtime.
That had like no score 4 minutes into the game.
I know, yep. Louisiana, Monroe under. Goes over because of overtime. Nebraska, led by 5 in overtime, the first overtime with a minute left. They lose. Villanova was up 9 with 3 minutes. Got to ask Seth Greenberg what's going on. And they blow it. The Clippers led Phoenix by 22 in the third quarter. Durant getting in an argument, confrontation with his head coach. He leads them back in the fourth quarter, and the Clippers blow it. And a moose in Minnesota. The T-Wolves were laying 14.5. It was 122-99 with 2:40 left. The Sixers scored on every possession the rest of the game, and on their final 3 possessions, there's a minute 20 left. So you get one miss, you're good, or they could just dribble it out. 3-pointer, jumper, 3-pointer. 9 points in the last minute 20. You lose with the T-Wolves, even though it was 122-99 with 2:40 left. Ridiculous, the beats last night. Try the races. Bet on the races at First Bet. You can wager on hundreds of horse races every day. Top tracks across the U.S. and around the world. FirstBet.com, promo code VSiN200. Get a 20% rebate for your first 60 days up to $200. Head to FirstBet.com today.
Here's the dog that could be barking tonight. And I really want to make a case for them, but the minute that I do that, the news that we could get on this game could go the other way within the next 5 minutes. You never know with the NBA. It's a guessing game. So Portland's playing at Boston. The Celtics are about a 9.5-point favorite in this game. Total is 224.5. Out for Portland, Robert Williams, DeAndre Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
Questionable for the Celtics, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I should say Grant's also questionable for Portland. Doubtful in the game, Porzingis and Holiday. White and Pritchard are probable. A possible starting lineup tonight for Boston is Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Al Horford, and Luke Cornett.
Yep.
That's if Tatum and Brown both miss the game. And if they do, where does this number go?
3, 4. Portland's hot, too. They won 6 or 7, and the loss was at Cleveland when they led by 18.
That's right.
And blew the game. Other thing, too, is look at Kling and props. With Williams and Ayton out, who's going to get the rebounds, right? I would think the big guy's going to eat and go over 8.5 rebounds, which I see at DraftKings and also Caesars. So
sure,
you're right. Portland, and it's not crazy to think they could make the play-in, too, because someone's going to benefit from this Dallas fiasco.
God, I wish we knew right now. Somebody send out an SOS.
That's huge.
Do you have some intel on Brown and Tatum?
It's huge.
Please tell me they're not going to play, because if they do, it's all in on Portland to, not even the 9.5 on the money line right now.
Also, no incentive because Cleveland's going to get the 1 seed. So, what's the difference?
And this is, again, Portland is the kind of team that you want to be on. They're trending in the exact right direction. The Celtics at home, laying big numbers, I never want to be on that. So,
right.
But again, the minute that I make, go bet Portland right now. Oh, hold on. Tatum and Brown are both playing tonight.
Well, teams might proceed with caution as well in light of what happened with Kyrie. So we hate load management, but Kyrie was number 1 in minutes played, and they were running him into the ground, and then whoop, a torn ACL. So that's could factor in their decision as well. But a ton of guys. How do you not take the Pistons tonight? Open 1.5 up to 4.5. Clippers on a back-to-back with travel. Games in L.A. Pistons rested. No Jones. No Kawhi. Powell's hurt.
No Simmons.
Yeah, and Harden's running out of gas too. Typical. And they're playing bad ball, and they blew that lead last night. Couldn't get stops against Phoenix. If you can't slow down Phoenix, here comes Detroit and Cunningham and company.
Yeah.
So 3-point move, and I think Detroit should be able to take out the Clippers tonight, who are reeling.
This is where betting overnights, right? You're not going to get as much money down as you are on game day, especially in the hours leading up to it. But having 1.5 in pocket right now in Detroit would be a really nice bet to have, based on what we know at this hour with how many guys are going to be out for the Clippers. So other news that you have, Tyler Hero, questionable, did not attend shoot-around. Heat taking on the Cavaliers. This total is 222. Again, this is coming up a little bit later on. Cleveland, the number 1 team to the over in the NBA. They've been great, and we saw it again last night. Yep. That game went pretty much exactly how we expected. They scored, 80-plus points in the second half?
They've won 11 in a row, but the last 3 games they've been down 15 to come back and win. Now 51-10. I don't know if they're going to be an underdog the rest of the season. That maybe they could get high 60s with the wins. But
it's 10-1 right now at DK to get 70 wins.
Not bad. That's not bad. And how great they've been since they won 15-16, and then they only lost at home to Boston since they acquired Hunter as well. So with Hero out, it could be a bloodbath. And I don't want the under though either. You're talking about the number 1 offense in NBA history in terms of efficiency. And what do we do with Dallas now? The Bucks up to 10.5. Someone's got to score. Someone's got to get that. I saw a lot of people making the case for Dinwiddie over assists. Now with Kyrie out, I mean, what are you going to do now? Who's running the show?
I have no idea.
I would say Dinwiddie would be the guy to look at in terms of assists, but it's a nightmare.
It's a patchwork outfit right now for the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Right? It really is. Also, the Wolves are taking on the Hornets tonight. It's been a code red against Charlotte here going back now the last, 6-8 games?
You're damn right, code red.
They have been so bad.
Yeah.
Now, again, monitor Randall, I think, questionable or not going to play in the game tonight?
Conley out, Gobert out.
Yeah. So I'll point out some numbers here on the player prop analyzer at VSiN.com. Jaden McDaniels is over 13.5 points in 7 out of his last 8 games. McDaniels has also gone over 6.5 rebounds in 5 straight and 12-2 over his last 14 games when the PRA, points, rebounds, assists, is where it is at tonight for 21.5. Also, the Hornets are god-awful defending the three-point shot.
Yeah.
I'll have a breakdown on this a little bit later on. Proceed accordingly. Edwards pops out tonight. Maybe some other guys on the team does as well.
Morant was at shoot-around. OKC, Memphis, total 247.5 up to 252.5. Memphis number 1 in pace. Thunder get whatever they want to.
I think it's time for OKC to win a game by like 40.
Well, they did that last time against these guys. So.
No, I know that, and because it's been a minute though, they're playing too many close games.
Around.
Yeah, really screwing around. We'll talk to Seth Greenberg from ESPN up next. We'll ask about teams seeded in the 4 range or higher that he could see doing some damage, and also to Pauly's point, all these blowing leads, big blowing leads, by the way, lately. Why is it happening?
And we're out.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I need to load funds into my gaming apps.
Stormy, really, with